Okay, so let's now get into what you were talking about in terms of, okay, so search volume. So what I want to know is what are some actions that you decide on based on what data point you're looking at?
So we're not going to talk about combining different data points or different report types yet. We're just going to talk about only the search query performance
Yeah,
report.
just and you know what, depending on where the conversation is, we may
May end up, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
But
but let's give it a shot. So let's first, but feel free to introduce. If you do this with this report, also this you could do this. So
yeah.
let's start with that. Let's stick to that example of one ASIN, and we've got, of course, we're gonna have more than one keyword. So and then we looked at several weeks of data, and then now we are about to make some decisions. So what are we looking at, and what are we deciding?
So there are a few things that I would do. First of all, I would definitely download these or get some other way to look at this data so that we're not just clicking around in Amazon, because it's really hard to compare period data without having the data in your own thing.
Right.
So um, generally speaking, some of the things I'd be looking at are what were my what are the highest search volume keywords that I got at least one click on, just to see, are there any high volume search terms that are relevant to my product and I'm getting clicks on them. Another thing I might do is do the exact same approach, but for at least one purchase for my product. So high search volume and sort by search volume and filter to make sure I got at least one purchase. And then um, that those are two of the very first things I do. Just it's almost like a relevance check, and also a great way to check to see if there are any things that have high search volume that your product does not act, or you didn't think your product was relevant for. Maybe you're selling shoes and that you never thought the term sneakers would be relevant for the product you're selling, but sneakers can be another way to say that word, and you may have just not thought of it, or you may have not thought that you were relevant enough for sneakers. But there's a ton of search volume on sneakers. There's a ton of long tail opportunities on sneakers. So definitely be on the lookout for those kinds of opportunities and try to think strategically about what other things your product could be relevant for. Um, and obviously, don't reach, because you might just end up sending yourself down an expensive wild goose chase where you start trying to target maybe dance sneakers, but actually these are running shoes and you would just call them running sneakers. Like don't
Mhm.
go too crazy with this, but try to think strategically about where you might be able to win.
Mhm.
Then the next logical thing to do is to take a look at those keywords and calculate your search query performance keyword level conversion rate. So you just take the purchases column and divide it by the clicks column. And ideally, you'll do this at a new column by the end. And then what I would do right there is I would probably filter and see, okay, great. First, I would filter by at least one conversion, and then or one purchase to make sure I'm saying the right thing, and then filter high to low conversion rate, and maybe I'd make a minimum of 2 or 3 purchases, so I'm only looking at conversions that seem highly relevant. And then just take a look and see, well, maybe this search term has a lower amount of search than my top search term that I was targeting, but hey, this search term is one where I have a very high conversion rate. I might really benefit from spending more money on this keyword, because it might not be the tallest hill, but I might be able to be the king of it. King or queen or whatever you identify. So that's
Yeah.
uh, so that's like the general idea. There is, well, how do I use just this first level of data to kind of make some decisions about where to go next? Like we're looking at a map and we're trying to decide, where can I have the biggest impact with each dollar that I spend on Amazon, and where I organize my keywords, what I put in my title, what I put in my bullet points, what I put in my backend. Like use all of that and try to make strategic decisions. Does that kind of answer what you're
Oh,
looking for?
yeah, I mean, this is beautiful. So let's ask some clarifying questions. So first of all, what you're doing is you are pulling all the search terms where you had high click-through rate that had at least one purchase.
Yes.
So that's a quick relevancy check where the keyword is getting you some traction.
Yeah.
What do you call high click-through rate? Are you looking at the whole range of the click-throughs and then you're looking at the ones that score the highest?
So I actually was talking about conversion rate before, but click-through rate is another easy to calculate metric where you can just take your clicks and divide them by your impressions. And so that's brand clicks divided by brand impressions. And yeah, sorting high to low, or yeah, I would sort high to low and maybe just sort above a certain threshold of click-through rate, like maybe anything below 0.05 I might leave alone or something like that. And again, I would probably start by not having any filter, but then if there are too many results, which there almost definitely will be, the next thing I would do is maybe filter by a click-through rate relevancy level, because I bet it's safe to say that anything below a certain click-through rate level would just be a broad keyword that's loosely relevant to your product.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
But in all this, the one common denominator is that you received the purchase.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you've gotten even high click-through rate, but you haven't had the purchase, those are not important to you.
Well, so if this is a new launch, then maybe or maybe not, because maybe we just didn't spend enough money, or maybe the competition is too stiff and we need to drop our price. We need a coupon, like these different.
So you just said one more thing.